I immediately was crying, and I told my husband that I don't want to die. And I told him that if he doesn't want to do this with me, then he doesn't have to. And he said that I'm stupid and I should stop. I think I was in a shock, honestly. But after I got my like exact diagnose, besides asking those questions that why me, why now, just why, what did I do wrong, stuff like that, I felt that we have to accept and we have to fight. So I'm Anna Tauer-Kövesdi, and I'm originally from Hungary. And I just moved to the US last July to marry my husband.
We are just married! Key on your stock!
I'm working for a non-profit in Durango in Southwest Colorado. And I worked in public relations and marketing in my whole life. I'm a former university lecturer, and I really like everything which is like, outdoors activities. So like, hiking, biking, mountain biking, running, just walking outside, winter sports, rafting. Like, after moving here, after 5 months, I was diagnosed with leukemia. So since then, it's kind of like a crazy year. And sometimes I'm just in a survival mode. Sometimes I feel better, but this is how it looks right now. I think probably that's important, that I was kind of always healthy and I had a healthy lifestyle. I was, was very active. I was aware what I'm eating. I tried to sleep a lot, stuff like that. And I got COVID last Halloween, and 1.5 later, I was in a long weekend in Chicago, and this is where my symptoms started. So like I worked a lot in Chicago, and on the third day, I started to feel like very fatigued. I was in a museum and I felt that, I might have a fever and I have to sit for a little. And I was just like very under the weather, just out of the blue. And then I had my period, and for like a few hours, it was like very heavy, which was also like, this is kind of not normal, but I considered that, we just fly to Chicago from Colorado. We had to wake up early. We walked a lot, so probably that's why. And so we went home, and there was 1 week until my diagnosis. And during that week, every night I felt kind of like feverish. I was out of breath after like washing my hair, which was longer at that time. So it was like I was totally out of breath. I had to sit down. And yeah, I had night sweats, which was also like like very, like new to me. And why I went to the urgent care finally is because I had like mysterious bruises on my legs, all over my legs. And before that I was in a massage, and I was thinking, maybe it was a little stronger. But with all of these symptoms, for a healthy person, it's like a little like you just feel something is not okay. And so I went to the urgent care. It was a Sunday noon. I spent there like 3 hours. Thanks God, they took a full blood panel, and they told me that someone will call me up from the hospital. And at Sunday 9 p.m., the head of the emergency unit in the Durango hospital called me that my blood numbers look really good and I should be in the hospital. I should pack a bag because I will stay. My husband should come with me, and that it shouldn't take longer than an hour. So my white blood cells was like very, very high. My platelets were very low. I was anemic, and yeah, I needed blood products to be able to be airlifted because I wasn't stable at all. So I obviously freaked out, and I didn't really know what's happening. So yeah, this is how it started, and then I rushed into the ER, and like 10 minutes after my arrival, they told me that it's 80% that it's leukemia. And I was like, okay, but what's the other 20? I still was like optimistic that, okay, I don't care about that 80, but what's the 20? And the doctor just like kind of like, said that, nah, it's leukemia. And they told me they didn't go to the urgent care maybe 1-2 weeks, and I'm not here anymore. So it's kind of crazy. Because in Durango, there is not really like a good care. I was airlifted that night at 3 a.m. to Denver, where I am at right now. So obviously I immediately was crying, and I told my husband that I don't want to die. And I told him that if he doesn't want to do this with me, then he doesn't have to. And he said that I'm stupid and I should stop. I think I was in a shock, honestly. And, it's like, it was really hard because, first of all, I was only in the country for like 5 months. We just got married, like everything was new. The language was new, like, these medical terms and everything is just new. I think it's not easy even in your own language, but like in another, it's like, sorry, what's that? So I was in a shock, I think, and freaked out and scared, but you cannot really do anything. And I felt lucky, that they caught it, and they were like so prepared, and they did that panel. And then after I was airlifted, I met with my oncologist the first time at like 5:30 a.m. So like half an hour after I arrived to the Denver hospital, and he's amazing. And he was amazing. So I was kind of like, eased and relieved that, okay, I'm in good hands. I have a good doctor, and he will cure me. But obviously, at that point, we didn't know the exact diagnosis. We just know that it's leukemia, but didn't know the type of that. Yeah, so it was kind of crazy. But after I got my like exact diagnosis, besides asking those questions that why me, why now, just why, what did I do wrong, stuff like that, I felt that we have to accept and we have to fight. And I never considered it like as a death sentence. I was like, okay, it's one of the the biggest challenge in my life. If we put everything pause, my life and our life will be delayed. But I'm gonna do this, and I will fight. And yeah, so I think that was a key thing, that I accepted it, and I tried to be positive. So I think what's really important, and probably that's the basic, that like having a cancer treatment and being in this journey is not like in the movies. And I think lots of people like, oh yeah, I saw it. So you like, vomiting 24/7, and you are like, just totally down, and you cannot do anything, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying it's not happening or it cannot happen, and that every person is different, but it's not always the case. So I think, when I heard that leukemia, I also saw that it's one of the worst, blood cancer. And actually, they say that like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, it was kind of reversed and there was no cure. But like, treatments and researches are like, improving day by day. So it's not the situation now. So actually, they found the oncologist for me in Durango. thanks God, my doctor goes to Durango, I think once a month to care patients there, or to just, check up or stuff like that. So they kind of like find him for me. I didn't really have a chance. And when my oncologist, so when I arrived at the hospital, we did a bone marrow biopsy, and then the next day I had the exact diagnosis, and my doctor said that I can have a second opinion if I would like to, but I don't really have time for that. So it wasn't really like, an option to choose another doctor or to think about that. Thanks God, I read really good reviews about him, and that's all of it was true because he's amazing, and I feel very lucky. And yeah, I'm with Colorado Blood Cancer Institute and the Presbyterian St. Luke's Medical Center, and both of them are amazing. So I really feel lucky, and everyone says that if you have to be somewhere with blood cancer, then this is the place you want to be. I was so worried that I didn't have time to think about that. So it wasn't like for lots of people to, they got the diagnosis and then, okay, let's find a doctor, let's find an institute. So it was kind of like given, but I feel lucky because it's awesome. First of all, he kind of like drew like the treatment plan. He told me what will happen. He told that it's a 3-year-old treatment, which I freaked out because I thought like, oh, half a year and I can forget about that. So when he told that it will be 3 years, I was like, sorry, what? And, it was like, that was really crazy to hear. And then he told me that I will do like a 28-day induction phase. Where there is an aim to get in remission, which means that no cancer cells in my bone marrow, in my blood system, because I had like 95 or 98% cancer cells in my bone marrow, which is like pretty high. So he told me that is the plan. He told me what kind of chemos I will get, what kind of medications. And he told me all the side effects, which he had to like list all of it, but I was so scared. I was very scared about staying at the hospital for 30 days. It became 37 days by the end because your immune system has to be like, your numbers have to increase a little before they let you out. So it was 37 days at first, and I was very scared of it. I was very scared about the side effects. I was like, oh my God, I have to get in remission, But I have to tell that besides staying in a hospital, it was one of the easiest parts, I would say. Yeah, so it's a pediatric treatment, which first they used for children and then young adults also get it. So I get like 5 different kind of chemotherapy via infusion. I got steroids every day, which was, I think, kind of like probably the worst part, considering the side effects, because it just, makes you totally immunocompromised. It makes you totally fatigued. I lost all of my muscles, so I was kind of like weak. And I had lumbar punctures and IT chemos, which means that they put chemotherapy into your, chemo into your spinal fluids. I had one bone marrow biopsy the first day and another one on the 28th day, and some blood transfusions and other blood products was needed. What else? Yeah, and I have antiviral tablets and antibiotics every day. This was mostly it. So it could be like vomiting, nausea, like fatigue. You could have rashes, you could have fevers. My doctor told me that I will get infection, which can have like any kind, lung infection to diarrhea and stuff like that. And that I can have that so-called like moon face, which is like your face gets a little like moonish, and you have like bigger belly, but other than that everything will be so skinny, so it's kind of weird. I didn't have that. So there were like lots of facts that I'm like, And I was thinking about my marriage too, that, oh my God, how I will look, and how I will, and also like hair loss, which was a big thing for me too, which then I think I handled better than I thought I will. So all of these, like, it's just so scary. So about the hair loss, I had like long hair, and I asked like 5 different doctors on every visit, will I lose it or not? Because then I discussed with my husband that I would just cut it shorter. So I wouldn't wait until, it's gets falling and I will have hair on my pillow when I wake up and everywhere. So I asked everyone to be sure that, yeah, I will lose it. And when everyone said that I will, then I cut it short. Like it was kind of like this, maybe a little longer. And then when it started falling, that's when we shaved it. And when it was this longer, I was like, okay, it's okay. Actually, I saw that, I'm fatigued, so it's easier not to wash and dry hair in the hospital. So I'm like, okay, I can deal with that. And then when we shaved it, that was the first time when I started crying when I looked into the mirror. My husband shaved it, and then he showed me in the mirror, and I started crying at, oh my God, how I look. But that was it, because I started to wear beanies when I was out of the hospital room, on the floor walking, and then 2 days later I looked into the mirror, and I was like, okay, it's a sign of the fight, and I will be, if not proud of that, but I will just accept that. And since that point I was totally fine. So I thought, when first I will cut it, I will freak out, but that didn't happen. So it was great. And why I said it wasn't that bad, that I saw that I didn't get infection. I didn't vomit even once. I didn't have the moon face. I didn't get rashes. So I became fatigued. There were days when even like having a shower was like a challenge. I had some headaches and nausea from lumbar puncture, because the first 2 they did, it was with a bigger needle. Since then they changed it to a small one, and I don't have any problems. But the first 2 was like pretty intense headache and nausea after that. But I had a good appetite, and I do believe that it's food and drinking water is very important to have less side effects and be strong and stuff like that. So I felt pretty lucky about that. I didn't have mouth sores, which they said that might happen. I could eat. I was hungry. Tastes didn't change that bad. I could walk almost every day. So I felt like I'm kind of okay. There was one day actually in January 1st in the morning when I passed out, probably some blood sugar stuff. But it was also like scary for my husband and the nurses, and not for me, because I kind of don't know about that. So that wasn't that crazy, but I feel that I did really good in the first months, and I achieved remission, which was amazing. So yeah, I felt pretty good, and actually the nurses were amazing, and all the doctors and at the hospital itself. He's amazing, and he's with me 24/7, and thanks God he has remote jobs, and he had different types, so he kind of like finished one and then continued the other to be able to be with me all the time. And he just helped me with the shower. He made me, after I get out from the hospital, he made me breakfast. He did my laundry all the time. He was there with me every day. He sometimes stayed for the nights in the hospital. He came every morning, sometimes get me food. He was working from there just to be with me. He was there for every important appointment, and like, yeah, he was just amazing. And it's pretty weird because in the hospital you kind of lose your, how to say that, I'm not saying you kind of like disappearing as a human, but like you have to talk about to the doctors and nurses about every symptoms, every bathroom visit, like every period, like sometimes in detail, and it was really weird to talk about this kind of stuff in front of my husband, because even if we are best friends and even if our relationship is amazing and we can talk about everything, like after 5 months being married, like bathroom visits and period in details is not the kind of stuff you want to talk about. But I can say we just became stronger, and it wasn't even a deal. It was biggie for me at first, but not for him, and it's totally fine. So yeah, he's just amazing, and I don't know how he does it. I was never in a caregiver role, and I know it's like I think it's one of the hardest. And I always tell that like patients have to like survive. Of course, they have all the like pain and all the treatments and everything they have to deal with, but caregivers feel helpless by seeing their loved ones, and they also have to like work and do stuff around the house and do the laundry and care handle insurance, which was also a big deal with me for me, because when I get to the hospital, my insurance, what I had, didn't cover this doctor and this hospital, so we had to change it, and it wasn't that easy. So caregivers have to do like everything. Their life doesn't stop. So he's amazing, and I feel pretty lucky.